And there we go. We're live on Facebook. So if you're joining us on Facebook, let us know what city, state, or country you're from. We've got Gus Castro. I know Gus. I know you as Gus, not Gustavo. So I know Gus as Gus Castro. He's originally from Mexico, but he is also a former Microsoft senior engineer. Get out of town, dude. I didn't know that about you.
Pretty crazy.
That's awesome. Did you help Bill Gates create Microsoft to what it is now?
So I met Bill Gates. So this is my claim to fame with Bill. I actually met him back when he was still running the company. This is a while ago, guys. He would have a barbecue every summer for the interns. I interned a couple of years from Mexico. I'd fly from Mexico and intern. And I met him and shook his hand one time. That's it. That's my Bill Gates. That's my big, awesome Bill Gates story. So he's a really cool guy.
That's cool, dude. I love that. I love that a lot. Good story. We've got a few people from Portugal and one from Germany. So obviously, you know, LCA is all over the world. So Gustavo, you run a company called Power ISA. And does that work anywhere in the world? Or tell me about that before we get started.
We're focused on North America. So the US and Canada is what we cover right now. A lot of the stuff we do, Tristan, as you know, it applies everywhere. You got to localize it, to your current market. But our company focuses on North America for now.
All right, cool. And I know we'll put up a link in there because you're kind enough to do this for us. So we're kind enough to give some love right back to you. And if anybody has any questions about what Power ISA does, we'll talk about that too. But let's get into this, Gus. 3 steps to convert more Facebook leads today. I thought for a second, since you worked for Microsoft, it was going to be like 3 steps to convert more Bing leads today, but not about Bing. Yeah. It's about Facebook leads, right?
It's about where people's attention is at. You know this better than anybody, Tristan. People's attention is a finicky thing, but when one of these lead sources really takes off, and I've been in the business a while, right? You have too. And we see these things happen. I was actually talking to someone this last week, and remember when Craigslist was the thing? Like Craigslist was this source of unlimited leads, right? Yeah, you can complain all you want about the quality, the price point, but man, if you worked Craigslist, you could build a team and build a business just off of Craigslist. And then it was Google pay-per-click. And guess what, guys? Now it's Facebook. And next year, it's going to be whatever it's going to be. But you got to make sure that you're always following people's attention. And why do we advertise and talk so much about Facebook? Because that's where people are at. That's where the eyeballs are at, right? So yeah, absolutely. We would be talking about Bing if Bing got all the attention, but we're talking about Facebook.
Bing kind of sucks, dude. So, I mean, you end up, and you know what? Hold on. Eric, I'm drinking an organic brew coffee. Here you go.
Nice.
Nice. I thought I'd try a different type of coffee. I like my coffee cold. I'm slightly allergic to caffeine, but I like it. So,
There you go.
Who knows? All right. So, Gustavo, you're right. We've been running Facebook ads for a very long time. And we did run Craigslist back in the day when that was going crazy. And we had success with that as well. It came down to the systems, right?
So 100%.
This is why I want to know what these 3 steps are, because not only do you have good systems, because you're an engineer, you also have a team that you can delegate the process to because you run an ISA company, right? So I'm assuming that goes hand in hand, but tell me here, how did you come up with the process? Because I know you shifted into real estate after being an engineer.
Yeah, 100%. And, I was an engineer, trained as an engineer, worked at Microsoft, not for a little while, almost a decade at Microsoft. But, there's a big but there. I realized my talents were elsewhere, right? I'm good with people. I realized I was good at sales. I'm good at, making things happen, executing, building teams. And a lot of that skill set would help Microsoft for sure, but it was never going to make me great at working at Microsoft, right? It was never going to make me a great engineer because my talent was elsewhere, right? So I credit my wife, who got licensed in 2008 as the world was ending. I credit her with kind of getting bit by the bug and kind of pulling me into her adventure, and it became our adventure, right? So of jumping into real estate. And again, Tristan, it's one of those things where when you're doing what you're supposed to do, it feels different. I've been doing software for a decade. I was doing real estate nights and weekends. I'm like, my attention has to be in real estate, right? I am much better at this than I am a software engineer. I'm not going to lie, much better entrepreneur, self-employed real estate person than I ever was as an engineer. And you can tell, and you know how it feels, and you know when it's a good fit. So I jumped into full time in 2013, and I have not looked back. Started a real estate team, and actually was helping my wife with the real estate team in Seattle. And then I started this company, Power ISA, because, like you said, I saw a need, right? I saw first my own need as a team. I needed an ISA team to help. This was 2015. It was a few years ago. Things were a little bit different, not that different. We're doing a lot of outbound prospecting. We were just scratching the surface of what Facebook would be, but most of our time was spent on the outbound. And I built a team to help my company out with that piece. And then more people wanted my help. Hey, Gus, can you help me build the team? Hey, can I get an ISA from your team? And so on and so forth. And I said, hey, let me just focus on this part of it, right? So I went full time into this company at the end of 2015, and I haven't looked back since. It's been a good run.
Oh, so then the main question before you share with us those three things is who's a better real estate agent, you or your wife?
So she was the face of the company. I'm not gonna lie, right? You couldn't tell I was running the real estate team because her face was everywhere, obviously. So maybe that counts as being the better agent. I don't know. So no, I was the systems guy and the closer, and she was, and she could take care of everything else, right? She would do lead generation, and this was referral recommendation. How she built the company, right? So it's pretty crazy. But I'm a systems guy. I'm a systems guy. That's what kind of drives me, right? So I've been able to build, as of this morning, we have 80 ISAs, 80-person team that I'm working with. And by the end of the month, I'm thinking it's going to be a 100-person team because, the growth has been so aggressive. And the market is crazy right now. It's just a symptom of that, right? And the only way you can build an organization and scale it that way is with systems. It's the only way.
All right, cool. So let's talk about those systems. Let's talk about that leverage. Let's talk about the 3 steps to convert more Facebook leads, because the one thing I hear consistently, Gus, is some people understand that Facebook leads are great and they're good, but other people say, well, I tried it. It didn't work. They're not that great. They're not ready, right? And I hear more of that, right? So
absolutely.
Take me through this process and tell me why you think it's worth us investing money in Facebook lead ads and then in a system like the one you have.
Yeah, 100%. So it's a great point, Tristan. I overwhelmingly hear a lot of them. Again, the people who provide negative feedback can sometimes be more vocal about it. I hear a lot of complaints about Facebook leads, and I would take it one step further. I think online leads in general, I see a lot of complaints. And the leads are terrible. Like, oh, they suck, guys. These leads suck. I mean, how can you possibly? I tried it and I got nothing from it. It's a very common piece of feedback. Yep. However, Tristan, I will go on the record and say that I think that Facebook is the best ROI of any online lead gen source right now. I'm recording this in the fall of 2020. I think it's the best ROI out there.
Even with all of the saturation that we see from all of the agents?
I think it's, okay, so that's a really good point. I think it's not as good a deal this month as it was last month, but it's still better now than it'll be a year from now, right? It's better now than it will be 6 months from now, right? So I 2 main things make Facebook so powerful. One is just it's everywhere, permeated, right? It's every aspect of Facebook is everywhere, all part of our lives. And also the other piece of it is that it's very easy to get results from it. You can set up a campaign and get results from it within some hours, within a couple of days. It's a really, really powerful platform, right? So I'm not gonna lie, but I can tell you now, it's gonna go the way other lead sources have gone. They get saturated, the ROI changes, and then we're on to the next thing. That's normal. I'm telling you right now, it is the best ROI out there at this moment. And, I don't get caught up in how good it was 6 months ago or a year ago or 2 years ago. It's better than it's going to be a year from now. I'm certain of that. So that's what people should try and, focus on. And when I hear people say that Facebook is no good, and, and again, I'm in the business, right? So I see this a lot. I tell folks, let's get specific. Because usually when they say the leads suck, they're talking about one of 2 main issues. And I'm going to generalize with all the caveats. I'm going to generalize. People typically say, when they say the leads suck, I'm calling, I'm texting, and no one's getting back to me, Gus. This is no good. I'm done. I'm through. So no contact, right? And
True.
then, or you're in another bucket. Let's say you're talking to people. Gus, these guys are not serious. They're not qualified. They're not going to buy. This is crazy. So it's usually one of the two, Tristan. It's usually one of the two. All the different complaints, I can usually drop them in one of those two buckets. Yeah. So my 3 steps is geared towards those two main problems. How to tackle whether you're in one or whether you're in the other, right? So that's where it starts. And my first step, can I get into the topic now? My first step, number 1, is a piece that's really, really important, and that's speed delete. That is important. And, I think it's important to get into the context of where these leads are. They're mostly on their mobile device, right? So they are pretty accustomed to getting, kind of instant gratification on that device. That's what it's for, right? That's the expectation the consumer has. But I do have one thing to say to folks, right? The good news is this: you don't have to have a giant ISA team like mine to make speed delete happen. There's automation out there, right? If you are paying attention at all to LCA, you'll see Follow Up Boss, you'll see Chime, you'll see all these different tools out there that help you with that initial response, at the very least a text message, which can be very effective, right? To get the dialogue started, get the consumer that sense of instant gratification. Because if you don't have that, you're already starting late. You're starting with a disadvantage. If you do, like unfortunately most realtors do, they get the lead in and they wait a few hours or even a few days, not joking, a few days to get back to them, or even the next day. The next day is very typical, Tristan. It's very typical people get back from the next day. A huge percentage of leads in real estate just don't get any follow-up at all. That's just the reality. But if you can get speed delete incorporated, you're already ahead of the game. You're already ahead of the curve. Instant text message, and if possible, a phone call as soon as possible. All of those things help. That's step number 1.
Okay.
Get systems, get tools in place for speed delete.
All right. So then I'll give you an outline as to how our speed to lead and systems work, because obviously we use Power ISA, right? We've been using you for like 2 years, I think. 2 years.
For a while. We've worked with Nick's team on recruiting, and we've worked with your team on lead generation and follow-up.
Lead generation for us. So this is how it works. Typically, we have a lead that comes through. All of our leads get a call from one of our agents, and they also get a text, right? But the call isn't an aggressive call, because these aren't your past clients. This isn't your core sphere. These aren't Realtor.com or Zillow leads, meaning bottom of the funnel, ready to purchase property for the most part. They're very top of funnel, meaning they're just looking. Think of where they're coming from. They were scrolling on Facebook. They saw an ad and they're like, oh, that looks cool. Right, very low intent. They engage, they look at property, and then they move on, right? So the intent isn't as high as some of these other leads. So then our approach needs to be less aggressive. And so when we call, Gus, we do call all of the ones coming in, because we think that's important, as well as text. And the conversation sounds like this. It's hey Gus, it's Tristan with Keller Williams Realty. Hope you're doing well, man. Look, you visited our website to search for homes. It looks like you came through Facebook. Can you tell me a little bit more of what you're looking for? And then they say, oh, I'm just looking. I'm just looking. Right. I'm probably not even going to, I was just, it popped up on Facebook. And then, so I say, hey Gus, I'm always just looking at homes on the beach. So it's nuts. I get it. But look, I don't want to spam you either. I'd like to at least send you homes you'd like to see, even if you don't ever end up purchasing, or you end up purchasing next year. So tell me a little bit more about that. And then they open up.
100%. So Tristan, amazing advice, right? I mean, really, really good, because you're a practitioner. You know how to approach these leads and how to get the conversation started. Because yeah, absolutely. You've got to leave the door open and get a dialogue started, because the automatic no is reflexive. It's a reflex no. They want to get you off the phone. They want to get back to whatever it is they were doing before that, right? So, and I'm going to get to that. So number 1, getting back to the steps, and done masterfully, Tristan. So number 1 is that speed delete, call, text, all of those things help. Step number 2 is that follow-up plan. Because, don't get me wrong, Tristan, not everyone is going to pick up the phone on that first call. Not everyone's going to respond to that first text. But if you just leave it at that, it can definitely seem like they're never going to respond. You can call them that day, that afternoon, the next day, and most agents maybe do that. They're going to call them once, might call them again, and maybe if they're super high performers, they're going to call them the next day, and they're like, Gus, this is awful. This is the worst thing ever, right? And they haven't responded to my text. I don't want to send another text, man. What's going on? That's going to sound weird. So there's a lot of blocking, limiting beliefs that can stop you from effectively following up with people. And again, put yourself in the context of the consumer, right? I've got people trying to reach me. Where's my cell phone? I've got people trying to reach me that I want to talk to that I have not responded to for 3 days, 4 days, a week. People that I want to talk to, that I'm actually looking to do business with, that I just have not had a chance to get back to in the moment, right? And I don't think my situation is super unique. If you're the mom of the family, you're shuttling kids around, you're getting lunches ready, there's an election going on, I mean, the pandemic, I mean, we're busy. This was true 6 months ago before the pandemic. This is even more true now.
You just stressed me out about all that, dude.
I know,
that's a lot of stuff we're going through, man.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot. Don't even get me started on what other things you could be going on. That's the baseline for, at least for the US. That's the baseline of what's going on right now. To add everything on top of that, right? So this is reality for the consumer. Yeah, they might not take your call, bud. They might not right now. It does not mean that they are not interested. It does not mean they're not doing something a few months from now, 12 months from now, or 2021 throughout, right? Do not put that thought into your mind. It is your job to be diligent and work those leads. And with our team, we've discovered that, and this is like a general, average across the US and Canada. This is both countries. I'm gonna put a lot of data here, but I just want to be as broad as possible. 60 days and 14 contact attempts is the minimum. So I'm not saying that's the max. I'm sure people do more. That is the minimum to give yourself a chance to talk to 50% plus one person. Of those, let's say you get 100 leads in that month. If you don't do some kind of follow-up plan that includes 14 touches across 60 days, I am almost, and we do this a lot, Tristan, we handle thousands upon thousands of leads every month. I can almost guarantee you're not going to be talking to 50% plus one if you don't have something like that in place. And you can combine those. It can be text message, it can be phone call, it can be more than that, no doubt. You might get more unsubscribes and stuff, maybe you will. But I'm saying that if you don't have something like that, there is no chance you're going to talk to enough people to get in contact with them and convert them. So follow-up is key. Having some kind of follow-up system in there is the only way to make that happen.
So Gus, with that follow-up, when you say it's like 14 touches in the span of about 2 weeks or less, around there, right?
Yeah, 60 days. I'm going even easier, Tristan. A minimum in 60 days. 60 days.
All right, so 14 touches in 60 days. Does that mean that as soon as, let's say I get a hold of you, you're the client, and I talk to you, do I follow up with you after that? Or what is that process that you have in place?
Oh, I'm just referring to people that you haven't contacted yet. This is the uncontacted plan. Okay. Oh yeah, no. If I call someone 14 times that I've spoken to, they're not going to speak to me for very long, right? It's a little bit too much. But it's just for the uncontacted to get them out of uncontacted. You want them to be contacted. You want them to respond. You want to start some kind of a dialogue, right? So that's definitely important. And it's important to combine texting and calling. I always tell folks, don't be afraid of the phone. It's very important. Yes, everyone hates the phone. I understand that. People hate marketers ruin everything. Let's just get that out of the way. Marketers ruin everything. I get it. We're trying to add value to the consumer, right? We're trying to get their needs met. So if you approach it from that mindset, it's a little bit easier. But we measure this really closely, Tristan. 80% of appointments and deals happen over the phone, right? We get those conversions over the phone. Texting is great if it leads up to a two-way conversation of a phone call. Face-to-face is better. Face-to-face is better, but at least you got to get them on the phone to have any real shot at conversion. And we get 20% of appointments from text messaging, which is great. I love texting, and that's growing, by the way. It's awesome.
This is from your ISAs, from those
ISAs, 100%. All right, 100%. Yeah, we can set appointments over text all day long, but the real quality we're going to get from actually talking to someone, having a two-way conversation. So make sure the phone call is a part of your plan, and preferably it's the biggest part of your plan, because you got to be making those phone attempts. You got to be giving it a try.
So Gus, take me through on this process on the follow-up. So we're doing 14 times in 60 days. And then Karen, I see your question. Great question. I'll get to that. But I'm still in these 60 days. I text them. Let's say I'm like day 14. They finally get back to me on like my third or maybe fourth text. And let's say I'm the ISA that works for you, the Power ISA. What happens then? How do they get transferred over to me?
Oh, great question.
ISA company, if I'm using your ISA company.
Yeah, in the ISA scenario, they have the different kinds of conversions they try to do, right? They have a priority. They've got a system they have to follow. Our number one most effective conversion is, hey, you know what? Tristan's in the office right now. Let me transfer him over to you. A live transfer. That's the best. It's the absolute best conversion, because you've got an immediate connection to the agent. And, Tristan, this is Bob, Tristan. Hey, Tristan, Bob's looking for a 2-bed, 1-bath in Ventura County because LA is too expensive, whatever it is, right? So I'm handing him off to you. Hey, go for it, right? His timeline is probably doing something early next year. He has a home to sell as well. Help him out. So we make that handoff, and that goes off, and that's great. If the lead is not open to that, and we measure this pretty closely, I'd say about half of our conversions can become live transfers, right? We attempt to do the live transfer. The other half, actually a little bit less than half nowadays, either the live transfer didn't work. This happens. This is possible. Agent might not pick up. We schedule the follow-up for them. We schedule an appointment for them. Hey, okay, great. And depending on where we are in the country, this is different in every part of the country now. It's a virtual meeting. It's a phone call. We can schedule an in-person appointment. It kind of depends. Depends. And this changes every day. It's pretty crazy. And then the last but not least, Tristan, you might get people that are not ready to go right away, and this is okay. This is not a bad thing, right? We know 80 to 90% of these leads are not going to be actionable in the moment. This is expected. This is not failure. This is a good thing. You're qualifying them. We're understanding who they are. Like your conversation you kind of sampled earlier, right? It's like introduce them, get a dialogue going, find what they want, and start building rapport, right? And I love how Howard from our local talks about this all the time, man. It is the start of the relationship, right? Or Barry. I love Barry Jenkins, who's all in LCA as well. He's awesome. His approach is amazing, because they're talking about that 90% number, right? You can make great money on that 10%, Tristan, no doubt. I mean, you're going to get deals, and you're going to get, you're going to be successful. If you can work that 90%, you're going to be unstoppable, right? That's amazing. That's where the fortune is on Facebook. And I think people can struggle with that, right? So that's all about that.
Look, I know we're talking about converting Facebook lead, the 3 steps. We're on the second one, but I gotta veer off for just a minute.
Go for it.
And that's only because you brought up the point where you said it's true that if you have this 90% that you haven't done anything with, which is a majority of all of our databases, if you
100%.
figure out a plan to be able to nurture that and to engage with that, all of a sudden you'll start seeing more transactions come from this dead. It's been dead, right? A database. It's been dead. All of a sudden it's alive, right? And that's because you start nurturing it. One of the things that we did with Gus is one of my team members, his name is Luis Robledo. He's one of my luxury agents out of Malibu with Douglas Elliman. And one of Gus's ISAs, all he does all day for Luis is calls his database. That's all he does. 100%. And Luis loves this guy because he's nurturing his database. Luis can't keep up with the whole database. He's been on my team for 11 years. His database is insanely massive, right? And so that I just wanted to veer off because you brought up that 90%, 100%. Right? And so for those people that are looking to do that, that's important. Now, let me go back to Karen's question. Let me read it to you. If they don't respond after 60 days, even with a smart plan in place, do you continue trying to get them on the phone or to respond at all?
So I said minimum, right? So minimum. So the minimum we put this plan in place for leads is I think it's 3 months. That's the minimum we're going to do. But the majority of what we do is 12 months of follow-up. 12 months of follow-up. So again, and I'm not saying that you're going to get the same kind of conversion the second 6 months you're going to get the first 6 months. There's a long tail of conversion, 100%. But it is a numbers game, guys. It is a numbers game. So we would not stop following up with these leads. There's no plan that we do that stops at 60 days. I brought up that number as like, hey, if you're not at least doing this, there's no chance you're going to talk to the majority of these leads. We continue calling, we continue texting. One of the things that we don't do as much anymore is email, because the CRMs are so good at it. So if people want to do email follow-up, they can use their automation. But texting and calling is 100% what we do.
All right, good. There's a question on, thanks, Karen. Good job. Yeah, we answered it. Thank you. There was a question by Will. What are we using? Are we doing Google? Are we doing Facebook? Me primarily, Will, I'm doing both. I've gravitated more towards pay-per-click, but in what we're talking about right now for conversion, it works the same. The approach, because typically Facebook is more top of funnel, like I said before, like barely starting. Google is more middle of funnel, even better, right? That means think of the process on how people go and find properties on Google. When you go and search on Google, you know what you're searching for, right? What are you searching for? Well, I'll give you an example. People go on Google and they're like, homes for sale in Malibu around Pepperdine University, close to the beach, enter. I mean, that is not a top of funnel lead. That has a lot of intent to it, right?
Yeah.
This is why we've gravitated more towards PPC, but the conversation, to answer Sonia's question, is the same. I call up, I'm like, hey, Gus, it's Tristan with Keller Williams Realty. How are you doing today? Oh, I'm good. Yeah, I'm doing good. What's up, right? I'm like, well, look, you visited our website through Google, and the last thing I want to do, Gus, is spam you. I know you're not looking for a home right now, probably. So can you tell me a little bit more of what you're looking for? And I'm like, yeah, we're not looking, probably next year. Same thing. This is like 80% of the conversation.
100%.
But you've got to get through that, Sonia, and you've got to say, okay, yeah, you know what? I'm always just looking to. Literally, I am. I'm a real estate agent, but I'm always like, dude, I always look at homes on the beach. So I say the same thing. Yeah, I'm always looking to, but listen, I don't want to send you stuff that you don't want to see, even if you don't end up purchasing. So what price range are you looking for? Or do you want to be close to the beach? Or are you looking for a house or a townhome? Are you looking for a flip, an investment home, right? Ask one question, stick to one, and then they'll answer it. And then you go from there. The point is that most people are going to say, I'm not interested, I'm just looking. And once you get past that, they'll give you a timeline, because they say, well, I'm not looking to move until probably next summer. And then most people are like, oh, great. All right, awesome. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for? Well, that's not what you want to do, Sonia. You want to get into it a little bit more. And this is what Gus's ISAs are trained to do. They try to find that motivation, which is when they say next year, they're going to be like, oh, awesome. What's happening next summer? Why next summer? They're following that. Instead of going to, yeah, what do you want to buy? Can I show you a home right now? No. We're finding the motivation, right? That's what you always have to look for. That's why Luis loves, dude, Luis texted me last week. He goes, please never get rid of the current ISA I have.
It's good. It's good. And he really, and this is a super cool guy too. That always helps. That always helps keeping the guys in the.
He's an easygoing guy, but I mean, I think it's Carlos who we have, right?
Carlos, 100%.
Carlos is a rock star, dude. That guy.
Yeah.
That guy, Luis goes,
awesome.
please
Awesome.
never get rid of him. I'm like, I won't, dude. Unless Gus cans us, then we're screwed.
Yeah, you guys are good. I think you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
All right,
yeah. So it's such an important part of that process, right? Having that dialogue, understanding it, and it's so key. And that approach, Tristan, is important. And actually, you touched on something that I think is super important. And I love this topic, by the way. You said, hey, you're gravitating more towards Google pay-per-click. It's a higher intent. 100% agreed. 100% agreed. It's also more adequately priced than Facebook. It's more adequately priced. It's closer to the actual value, true market value of those leads. It's a more mature platform, Google pay-per-click. And one of the things I love is that you were super clear, like the areas that you would use Google pay-per-click, Malibu. So let's say, that Google lead might cost you $30, might cost you $60, might cost you $100. The cost per acquisition, the deal might cost you $1,000 to get that deal. In Malibu, how many deals would you get at $1,000 a deal? I would guess a lot, right? That's a pretty good return on investment for hell, $10,000 for a Malibu deal is a pretty good investment to make, right? So it totally makes sense. I think the advantage and the allure of Facebook for most of the country is that even if your median price is 200,000, 250, or whatever, the national median price is closer to 300 now. It's the ROI you can get from Facebook can be higher, even if it's lower intent, even factoring in a lower conversion rate, which is for sure. I 100% agree with that. But even then, cost per acquisition, what I've seen is cost per acquisition from Facebook can be lower. Yes, it's more work, 100%. But cost per acquisition can be amazing if you can figure it out for your market.
And you're seeing probably on average across the whole US, somewhere in between $1 to $2, which is, dude, that's insanity.
Holy cow. I mean, if for Malibu, if you need 1,000 leads to get a deal, I'm like, would you spend $1,000 to get a deal? I would. In Seattle, I'd spend $1,000 to get a deal. You crazy? It's like every day of the week. And it usually follows that trend. A lower price market typically is going to be a lower price. I've seen leads under $1. The higher price markets, typically leads are going to be more expensive, right? Because there's more competition for those eyeballs. So that's pretty normal. But even then, man, it's very few platforms where you can see a 10x potential for a 10x ROI. And right now, Facebook is one of those platforms. But I can tell folks, right? We're talking about the now. This is the fall of 2020. This is true. It might have been even higher a year ago. It'll be lower a year from now. Just focus on what you can do in the moment. This is a great opportunity to jump into Facebook and give it a try if you haven't tried it already. And here's another thing, Tristan. Everyone that I know has tried Facebook. I mean, I know the realtors that I know, like, oh man, that was terrible. Guys, the platform is not static. If you tried it a year ago, you tried a whole different product. It was a different world a year ago on Facebook, right? It was totally different. You might have gone in there before the special ads category, if you don't know what that is. You might have gone in there before, more and more data was in there. So this product adapts to the market, adapts with more data. It gets smarter over time. So you should definitely be testing it out if you haven't tried it already, because it's one of those tools that has the potential to really grow your business and blow it up if you can put the time and patience and effort to figure it out.
Yeah, and one thing that people often miss is that the ads also show up on Instagram. So if you track, you can see that
2 for 1.
Right. It just depends on if you leave that open to let Facebook decide where your ads are going to gravitate to based on who's engaging with them. It could be equal, or sometimes it gravitates a lot more for us on Instagram, which is cool, right? So that's another one that people don't see. All right. So we were on 2, where you need systems, you need process.
You need a follow-up. You need a follow-up system. And, and when we talk about systems, what I mean is a CRM. If you're doing online lead generation, a CRM is a must. It's not a nice to have. It's an absolute must to help you keep track of this. What are your calls you have to do for today? What are your follow-up calls you do for today? The only effective way I've seen to keep track of that day in and day out is with a CRM. You missed a day? Okay, you missed a day. The next day, you've got yesterday's and today's calls to make. They get stacked up in your CRM. You got to knock them out. You got to hit those new leads. You've got to hit the leads that have follow-up due today. You had to have those long-term follow-up leads. Yes, the ones you're only calling once a quarter. Some of those come due every single day. The only way to understand that and keep track of it and have any chance of success is with a really awesome CRM. And man, I see that's probably the third I see every week on LCA. Hey, what's the best CRM? And so check out LCA. There's some great suggestions there. It's a great question, and the answer, we can have another webinar on what the best CRM is. The answer is what's the best one for you, really, right? So the one you're going to use, that's the real answer.
Well, I have an answer. It's either follow-up bots or Chime mixed with Ylopo. That's my answer. So.
That is a pretty awesome combo. So folks should definitely check that one out. So keep yourself organized with that CRM. So step number 3, and this is the important one. Well, it's as important as the first 2. Step number 3. So let's say you've got speed to lead, Tristan. Let's say you've got the follow-up plan in place. So you're going to get an opportunity to actually talk to these people, right? And we've been going over this throughout the talk today. What are you going to say when you get that person on the phone? What are you going to say to them? Because that goes into the second problem I talked about at the very beginning. Gus, these folks aren't motivated. They don't want to talk about, they're not ready to buy right away. They don't want to talk to me. And a lot of people struggle with that. If their issue is they're not talking to enough people, problem number one, I go speed to lead and tell me what your speed to lead is and tell me what your follow-up plan is. That's usually the problem normally. If their problem is they're not converting enough of these people, then I go, well, what are you saying to them, right? What are you saying to them? And are you understanding that they're top of the funnel lead, like you said, Tristan? Are you understanding that 10% conversion rate, right? Do you know what that means? You have to talk to 10 of them to get one that's motivated, that will be doing something sooner, right? That wants to talk, that's more actionable than the rest. Are you even talking to enough of them to make that conversion rate work, right? So yes, you have to be able to open it, talk to them, be open about it. But when you find that motivated person, you got to be able to go in and convert them, right? Which is important. And when we're talking about conversion in this day and age, Tristan, you know, if I hear an agent or one of my ISAs try to go for the appointment when there's nothing in the conversation that points to an appointment, I want to scream. I'm like, why would that person want to meet with you? There's no reason they want to meet with you. There's no reason they want to talk to their agent. There's no reason they want to do anything. If you just go in there trying to get an appointment out of it, treating them like a realtor.com or like a Zillow lead, where there might be intent. They might want to go see that property that day. It's possible, right? If you treat them like that, you're not going to be successful. You're just not going to be successful. And I see that a lot, actually, Tristan. People treating the Facebook leads like they're Zillow, like they're realtor.com. When can we meet? I need to meet you. Let's go look at that let's look at some homes. They might not be ready for that, right? They might not be appropriate for their timeline or for their needs. And by the way, do you even know what their needs are? And I love the way you framed it, Tristan, where you're just being low key, you're curious, and you want to go off some questions and you want to build some rapport. What is it that they want? Great. And what are you looking for? And what do you think you want to make that happen? Oh, that's awesome. That's interesting. One question is leading to the other. And if you really pay attention, Tristan, you're going to hear something that they need. It might be they're not sure how much home they can afford. It might be they're not sure what the best school district is. It might be they're not sure. This is a common one, that they're not sure if they have a home to sell. How can they manage that? Man, they can sell their home in 5 minutes, but what are they going to do after that? They need an expert to help guide them through the home purchase process, the home sale and the home purchase process. Or in a super hot market like LA, how are they going to win the property, right? They're not even sure if they can get it. So if you're listening for these cues, you can become solution focused. Hey, Tristan, you know what? I totally understand. The market is in fact pretty crazy right now. But if you talk to my agent, Gus, he knows how to set up a strategy that can take you to the next level, get you that property. He has a system in place to help his buyers get the best chance at winning that property. When do you want to talk to him so he can share that system with you? When do you want to talk to him to give you that VIP buyer program? But you cannot throw that solution out, Tristan, if there's no need. There has to be a need. You've got to have enough of a dialogue for them to kind of give you a hint. At what they need. I'm a student and a client of Dale Archstecken, right? So shout out to Dale. He is all about building the rapport, and he trains my team every week, by the way, all my ISAs. Building rapport, because whoever listens the most and talks the less wins the game, right? Listen. You're looking for that entry and you want to give them that hook. We call it the hook of the script, the hook. You have to have a hook. You have to have one. To have any chance of converting that lead, you better have a pretty awesome hook. And the best teams across the country have some crazy hooks, man. That's where the VIP buyer programs come out. Some of them have, access to off-market properties, whatever it happens to be. You've got to have your expertise. Hey, I've been working in Malibu for 11 years. I mean, Luis can drop some bombs out there, man. He's an expert in that area. He manages a certain clientele. He can has a great experience for the buyers. I mean, this is amazing, right? So you got to have that massive value proposition. Otherwise, you got no hope.
It it reminds me of a phrase, because Sonia agreed with you, by the way. Good job. She said, be curious. Curious people make money. I'm going to take that another step further. You know, or if you haven't heard of this guy, Google him. Chris Voss, ex-FBI negotiator turned business growth development consultant. And he helps on negotiations. He says, interested people are interesting. And so you ever go to a party and you see that one person's just everybody around him gathered because he's interested in listening to what you've got to say. He makes you feel significant. He makes you feel like you care. Why? Because you keep on asking pertinent questions, right? Chris Voss, Chris, you got that? Voss, V-O-S-S, Chris Voss. And you can find his book, Never Split the Difference, on Amazon. And it's one of my favorite, one of my top 10 favorite books of all time. That's the book. But let's go deeper on that, because I agree with you. It's what do you say? This is why I love that your team is trained with Dale. Dale actually trains my team every Wednesdays and Fridays, which is cool.
Love it.
And so in what it is that you have to say, I think a lot of us forget that that's the main key. My law school professor used to tell us when I was in contracts, he used to say, we're wordsmiths. That's what we are as attorneys, right? But I'm going to take that to real estate and say, our play on words matters so much. We're wordsmiths, right? Our job is to make people feel like we're listening to them and that we care, because the moment that me as the consumer feels that you care for me, I open up. It's like, oh, Gus actually wants to listen to what I've got to say. He's not trying to sell me anything. Sounds like he actually cares. So, after you get to truly understand how it is that your tonality has to sound, the words that you use, listening skills that you have, you all of a sudden start turning around, and clients that you would never suspect would come from Facebook close, and you make a ton of money. I'll give you one story, Gus, and it has to do a little bit with your team too, because you helped nurture this one, and I'll explain it to you. All right.
Go for it.
Rewind. Samson, awesome name. Am I an attorney? No, I quit law school. I had a year left and I quit it. So I had a choice when I got my real estate license, go to law school, become a real estate agent. I did both. I did amazing in real estate. I said, see you later, law school. And then the market tanked and I'm like, damn it, I should have continued in law school. But I did well in real estate. So that's the story.
Not too bad.
Yeah. So here's the story, Gus. 2.5 years, we get a Facebook lead ad, right? Not a regular Facebook ad, Facebook lead ad. For those of you who don't know, it's when people click on an ad and their information, the consumer's information, is automatically populated, and we get that information. It goes to our CRM, and our ISAs call, or our agents call. We pick up the phone, we call this client, comes through, and he says, I'm not interested, I'm just looking. Comes in looking in Venice, California. And so comes in, he says, not interested. Luis gets the lead, right? And he goes, okay, no, not a problem. I'll send you some other homes to take a look at. 2 weeks later, from his follow-up, he sends him homes. The guy comes back and says, I like this home. Can we go see it? Luis is like, sure, let's go see it. Get there, the home's about $4 million. And he says, I like it. Let's put an all cash offer in. 2 weeks in, okay? Facebook lead ad.
Wow, nice.
The offer gets accepted, Facebook lead ad. We go and do a home inspection, comes in, shows up with his wife, and they're like, that house next door is for sale too. Can we go see it? And Luis is like, but we're in escrow on this one. Do you want to cancel? Do that one? They're like, no, we want to purchase that one too. So we open up escrow or under contract on the next home with them. Now we have $6 million in escrow. We close 2.5 years ago. Your ISA stayed in contact with them because they're nurturing our database. Luis stayed in contact with them too. 2 weeks ago, they come back to us because we're nurturing them. And they're like, hey, we found this home we'd really like in Malibu. It's 13 million and we'd like to go see it. We're like, okay, cool. We find out it's Matthew Perry's home from Friends, right?
Nice.
And the agent is Josh Flagg. And we go, hey, Josh, we've got a past client, who wants to see it, goes in, loves the home, puts in an offer, it gets accepted, we open escrow. So he says, remember those 2 properties that we bought? Well, we need to sell them. So Facebook lead ad, right? Nurturing, I'm going to show you one of those. We just put this on the market 5 days ago. This is the one he bought 2.5 years ago, Facebook lead ad that we just put it up. And look, it's Luis. Luis is the listing agent on it, right?
Nice.
So this is one of the 2 that we're going to sell. And this is all a Facebook lead ad that, because of our speed to lead, because of our follow-up, because of our nurturing, right? We were able to not just close at the beginning, but altogether when we're finished with this, I mean, who knows what happens in the future with this guy? This is going to be almost $1 million in commission for Luis and I together because we have the systems in place. And that's partially to thank to you, man, because you're helping with those systems. So this is why systems are important, right? That's why I left the story for the end right there. So
love that. That's pretty good ROI. If you don't, that's a pretty good ROI for Facebook lead. I can't really complain there.
I will never complain about Facebook
ever again, right? That's a good one.
Yeah. So those 3 things, that's really how you do it. Now, where Gus comes in is that a lot of us have a challenge leveraging out ourselves because we're either showing property, we're either writing up contracts, we're running our business, we're doing some admin work, and we're also trying to follow up with our past clients and our sphere. And if we're adding this other arm of online leads through Facebook or through Google, right, you're also going to be calling these leads as they're coming through. So imagine if you're showing property or you're in between negotiating or you're doing a listing presentation, who's calling them? Who's nurturing them, right? And I learned early on as I was building this team years ago, is as amazing as my real estate agents are, I can't rely on them to do a lot of the nurturing because they're busy, right? I'd rather Luis be opening a $13 million deal than him have to worry about nurturing, right? And 100%. So you've got to start allowing yourself to be able to grow by putting the right pieces in place. If you're not the one that's going to be calling, hire someone like Gus's team here at Power ISA to be able to do that for you, right? And that's part of the leverage, man.
Yeah, 100%. And I love that story, because it brings it all together. I love that. I didn't even know that. I found that out right now. You guys have killed it with that deal. Carlos is a great ISA, Luis is a great agent. When you put those things together, it's pretty amazing what you can do. But it starts with that speed to lead, with that follow-up, saying the right things when you actually get in contact with these folks, and magic will happen. Just leave it at that. Magic can happen if you actually implement 3 very basic, very simple steps. Not easy, but they are very simple, right? Anyone can implement those with Facebook, with Google, with a lot of these lead sources. Make sure you've got those bases covered and you will be successful.
Well, that's very true. Very true. And a couple of questions, maybe you can answer it, Gus. I think we both run the same company. Who's creating your Facebook lead ads right now?
So we work actually with a lot of different marketers. I don't want to, call out anyone in particular because we work with hundreds of clients right now, right? So we've got marketers that are doing it. We have agents that are doing it on their own, kind of figuring things out themselves. But, my recommendation is everyone should give it a chance to try it out on their own. Understand the platform, know what you can do on your own before you hire a pro. Understand what kind of results you can get just by watching YouTube videos and reading the documentation out there. There's a Facebook blueprint out there, which is a pretty decent document. And there's a lot of YouTube. Search LCA for how to create your Facebook ads, right? There's a lot of content out there to get started. See what kind of ROI you get. See how many leads you can generate. If you and depending on that, make the decision to hire a digital marketing pro, because we work with hundreds of clients, Tristan. I always publish every month the top 10 Facebook campaigns and how they're performing. And, 10 out of 10 are done by pros. I mean, yes, pros will do better, but I wouldn't start with a pro. I would always give it a shot myself to see what I can do. And from there, bring in the vendors, the marketing agencies, all the companies that can provide you with Facebook leads.
Agreed. Just use Ylopo. And
well, there you go. Or just, shortcut, use Ylopo, and you're probably going to be good.
I mean, look, there's a lot of companies out there, but I don't want to complicate it for everybody.
Yes.
Just go to Ylopo.
100%.
And if you're brokerage, I know some brokerages offer Facebook lead ad creation. Like I'm with KW, they have Command, right? They can do that. So,
absolutely.
Conversion has some versions of that. And I think Berkshire Hathaway has a great one. Remax has a great one. And I think C21 just started too. So look, whoever you're with, your brokerage probably offers some type of a Facebook lead ad thing. The leads are all there. It's the secret sauce is in the process of what happens
100%.
when you get the lead. This is why I wanted Gus on today, because he's got that process, and it really is 3 easy steps, but
it is.
You've got to work on putting them in place, right? Or you just hire his team to do it for you, right?
There you go. Right there. You're done. You're done.
I know, that's the shortcut, man.
Yeah, 100%.
First of all, I love Samson's name. I don't think I've ever heard anybody named Samson, except for that awesome biblical
the Bible.
Yeah. So great name. Let's see. So does that mean that we have to join the LCA and take advantage of this offer? Samson, LCA is free. It's the largest online community for real estate agents. So you could just go on and join there. But to take advantage of the Power ISA discount, you just go to that link and just sign up. That's Gustavo's company.
End of story. Just click. Do book through that link. Use the landing page. It's that one button. It's on the whole page. It's just one button. Click that button, and we're good to go. Because we want to make. Or again, just mention you're a member of LCA, and my team we'll figure it out. They're pretty sharp guys. And they will figure it out. They're actually watching this right now. Shout out to the sales team. So yeah, definitely they'll take care of you guys. Make sure you drop Tristan's name, you drop LCA, you just let them know where you came from.
I love it. All right, a couple of questions. Any questions? You can throw them in here. We're wrapping up. Let's see what Lydia's got to say. What's up, Lydia? Lydia, we just started using speed to lead, and the leads have already started pouring in. Do you have any advice as far as using pictures in the lead ad versus pics? So I'm not sure I understand. Lydia, videos, got it. So pictures versus videos. Yes, I have some. Gustavo might chime in too. If you're going to use pictures, I recommend using more than one. From when we last talked to Facebook, they showed that the stats are much higher when people can scroll through a carousel ad with their thumb. So they get stuck on yours because they can scroll through, right? So more pictures, better. We've seen actually that outperform any one video. So videos are great for branding, but in order to engage, they need to be 15 seconds or less, or they need to be scrolled pictures, which they call carousel ads. Gustavo, anything you want to add?
Yeah, it's a funny thing, Chris. I see the exact same thing. I've never seen video outperform just single. Most of the ads that we see, because we don't create the ads. We're not an ad creation company. We're a lead conversion company. But the single image ad still outperforms everything for lead generation. I want to be clear. This is a specific scenario. You're generating leads. You're getting people to click more information. Get them in there. I'm not talking about engagement like long term. I'm not talking about time on the video. To get leads, to get deals signed, single image is all you need. And I know it's crazy. There's dynamic ads, there's video ads, there's all these 18 different types of ads. I'm here to tell you, we work with hundreds of digital marketing agencies, not just real estate agencies, and the single image ad still wins. I can't understand why. It's just the way the consumer, but I follow the consumer behavior. That's what the consumer likes, do it.
Yeah, I agree, dude. Just do that. There was a question, collage, single image works great. Yes, Buster, very good point. Do you use a funnel? Here, that was a question by, I don't remember who, Drew. All right. Do you use a funnel on your ads? So when you create a Facebook lead ad or you have a company do it for you, it is a funnel that's built into Facebook. The lead ad is the funnel. So the way Facebook works is they built it into it. So it's a Facebook product where as soon as you click on the ad, it automatically populates the consumer's information based on what Facebook has. They click next, then it takes them to the questions if you've placed any questions, which is we place usually about 2 or 3, and we say, are you looking to buy in the next 90 days, right? And it has like a little ABC choices, 30, 90, or longer. Do you need to sell in order to buy? And are you currently working with a real estate agent? Those are our 3 questions usually. And then after that, it says thank you, and it takes them to our website. It gives them the option to click. So it creates its own funnel, like a ClickFunnels thing, but it doesn't leave Facebook. And most people, when they leave Facebook, they don't feel good about it. So we try to keep it all within there. So great question. Lydia got that one. Dimitri, can you talk about the dynamic real estate ads? Yes, I can. Let me just make sure we have anything else. Remember, this is recorded, so it goes on our YouTube channel, and that's going to be on LabCoatAgents.com. You can find a whole bunch there, and this will be by the end of the day. So if you missed any of it, go back, rewind it, and it's also living inside of our Facebook community. All right, Facebook Dare ads. Here we go. Dynamic ads for real estate are this. Facebook created it specifically for Facebook, for Instagram, and specifically for real estate. That's why they called Dare, dynamic ads for real estate. And they'll confuse you even more because they just changed the name in June to real estate ads, which sucks because they still refer to them as Dare ads. And what it is it allows us as real estate agents to be able to showcase our MLS, our IDX, all of our properties, all of that catalog of properties. It allows us to showcase it to anybody we want on Facebook and Instagram. So instead of just having one ad with one picture of one home, that one ad is the MLS. People scroll through, they can see all homes. And as they engage with it, let's say you picked a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 400,000 priced home, click on it, then more come out that are similar. So every time you visit Facebook and my ads pop up, it's dynamic and it starts sending you homes based on what you engaged with. That's the dynamic part about it. And it uses the MLS as a catalog. So it picks homes that are similar to the one you're picking, and it identifies those and sends those to you. And now Dare ads, they nurture you. They nurture you so that you get the right homes, and I don't have anything to do with it anymore, right? And as you engage more with it, it also notifies us and says, hey, this person just looked at more homes like this. Hey, this person just sent this home to the friend. Hey, this person just favorited this home, right? So you know the intent, it goes higher, it stays the same. So definitely something. Could you speak about, I don't know, Greg says, Gustavo, do you know about this one? Could you speak about getspeedtolead.com? I don't know anything about them.
Yeah, that's our pay per lead offering. So it's also Power ISA. We kind of split it off into its own website. It's our pay per lead offering. So just depending where you are on your journey, you might hire a dedicated ISA to work on because you have the volume, part-time or full-time. But if you're only generating a handful of leads, and by handful, I mean 30, 40, 50, maybe even 100 a month, it doesn't make a ton of sense to hire a full-time person if you're doing less than that. So that product is for people generating, I'd say the sweet spot is 50 to 100 leads a month. If you're just doing that volume and you need help with that, implementing that follow-up plan, 3-month or 6-month or 12-month, that's what that's for. It's our pay-per-lead product. If you have a smaller volume, that's definitely for you. If you have a larger database, if you want to do outbound prospecting or nurturing your own database, that's where the dedicated ISA kind of comes in.
Yeah, look, I've been using, I don't know what Gus, why we finally decided to do this, but I've been using Gus for 2 years. And I finally texted him like, you want to do something? He's like, yeah, let's do things.
I'm game. Let's do this. Yeah, 100%.
Which is nuts. But yeah, so I trust his company. It's not just some company that came out of nowhere. I've been using it for a long time. So that's a good one. And yeah, our YouTube channel is LabCoatAgents. You can find us on YouTube, see it there. And then Gus, question for you from Romaine. Would you share with us if you pay your employees per hour or per lead? How does that work? Your employees?
Oh, my employees, all my guys are full-time employees, full benefits, health plan, pension. I mean, the works. Everybody we work with is a full-time employee. Are they hourly? No, well, not hourly, right? Because they get paid. So they get a pretty good deal. So yeah, we have all our folks are full-time employees. I think we're a little bit different from a lot of companies in that sense, where I think a lot of people do contractors or something different. Everyone is like fully onboarded into our company, and I think that's why you can kind of get a little bit of a different experience and a different quality person, right? Different quality person that's like 100% member of Power ISA versus someone that kind of jumped into a call center. Everyone is onboarded into our company, full-time employee, every single one.
I love that, dude. I love that. And they're very responsive too.
Love it.
Romaine says, thank you for your transparency. Thanks, man. Good question too. So good answer, Gus. Let me see anything else that I missed. When you have time to buy. Here it is. This is the one I missed. Drew, I almost missed your question. Sorry. When you have a time to buy, in addition to calling, do you proxy to a CRM as well for a drip campaign? Yes, we do. We do also have a drip that's set up. We run our drips through either, and my team is split up, so I use 2 CRMs. One is Chime and one is Follow Up Boss. So I use both for different parts of where I cover, because I cover a large area. And Chime has an automated drip as well with artificial intelligence, and Follow Up Boss has the same thing mixed with Ylopo. So we do have drips, but let me tell you, the difference comes when the actual person picks up the phone and calls and texts. That is by far the biggest difference. This is why we love Gus, because his team rocks it, right? Like, you can put as much automation in place and it does help you, right? If you've got nothing, it definitely helps you. But if you want to level that up, it takes a person. It definitely takes someone to pick up the phone and call and text. And it takes that human aspect. And I don't think that's ever going to change. So
100%.
Gus, thanks for being on. Guys, if you liked what Gus has got to offer, go to powerisa.com. And I think we put up the link on there. It's powerisa.com/LCA. And last question I'll answer right now, the great question. What do you recommend for a new agent as a CRM? I think something simple and user-friendly that you can expand on. Follow Up Boss. I think it's $69 per one seat. So that's what I would start with. Anything you want to add to that? Pretty good one to start with, right, Gus?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is coming from a guy that started with Excel, by the way, from my database. Once I started with the internet leads, CRM 100%. Thanks for the opportunity, Tristan. I really appreciate it, man. Always great talking to you, because I love picking your brain and learning, about what you do every day. You always let on a little bit more at these webinars. So it's always a joy. Appreciate it. For folks that want to continue the conversation, I'm in the group. My team is also within the group. Would love to answer any questions related to follow-up and scripting, objection handling. Would love to see you on there. We'll be in the group answering questions too.
All right, man. Thank you for your time, guys. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you all.